Hey everybody, St. Paul here, and welcome to the very, very first podcast of Music on the Run. Before we get going here, do me a favor. Wherever you got this podcast, please give us a rating. It's super important. Hit the subscribe button, and if you have time, write us a review. What's really important is that we spread the word about this great podcast so we can get a lot more people coming to the party. All right. Enjoy the very, very first podcast of Music on the Run.
Hey everybody, St. Paul Peterson here, and I can't wait for you to check out the first episode of Music on the Run podcast. Our first guest, moi. We're going to get to know each other, we'll talk stories, tell you about how I stay in shape on the road. It's going to be great fun, man. Check it out, Music on the Run.
Hey everybody, it's St. Paul Peterson, and this is episode 1 of Music on the Run. Woo! All right. Welcome everybody. It's fun to have you on here. Again, my name is St. Paul Peterson, and we'll get into who St. Paul Peterson is in a little bit. You know, we'll talk about the St. Paul bit in a little bit. This is a podcast, and you're going, why are we having another podcast? Well, for those of you who know me, you know that I'm a musician and I've been in the business a really long time. But the primary focus of this is more about how you stay in shape on the road. Because I've been a road dog since I'm, 18 years old, Davide? Something like that. So, you know, and it actually is such an important thing especially for us to be able to tell the next generation of musicians and or businessmen or whomever has traveled and has some secrets, pass all that on to the next generation, or just give some tips to our, people our own age. That's what I think we're doing. My producer, Davide, is over here in the corner, so I'm just not talking blindly to somebody over here, but I think it's really important to talk about health, and not only physically, but I'm talking about mentally. How you stay mentally fit when you're on the road. For me, being a musician, how do you keep your chops up? This, we're going to talk all about that. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about family, because family is so incredibly important to me. And I'll talk about my family in just a little bit. The Peterson family, they're something else. And you know what we just found out, Davide, is that we're being inducted into the Minnesota Music Hall of Fame.
So proud of you guys.
This November. Isn't that cool?
It is, absolutely, man. That's an honor.
Oh, isn't it, though?
It is.
So don't think we're not going to talk about music, because, of course, we are. And, you know, the bulk of the people we have on here, they could be celebrities, they could be businessmen, they could be comedians, they could be anything. Doctors, yeah. You know what? They could be fitness guys who can maybe give you a few tips on what to do, how to sleep better, all of that. So that's super important. Okay. So for those of you who don't know who the heck I think I am, hello, my name is St. Paul Peterson. Why the saint, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think that we'll talk a little bit about that later, because that's part of my musical story, not my religious story. Although my mother would like that, you know. So I would say that I would characterize myself as probably a little bit hyperactive, and I don't know whether that's caffeine induced or just a natural thing. But even since I was a little kid, I'm like, come on, let's do something. Come on, I can't sit still. I think that could be because I'm the youngest. I'm not sure. It could be, you know. But my family, the Peterson family, we're all about music, and I'm the youngest sibling, the youngest one. You know what happens when you're the youngest. You get spoiled, and you get to steal all your brothers and sisters, in my case, licks, all that kind of fun stuff dealing with music.
The troublemaker.
I'm not the troublemaker. I was perfect. You better put your mic up to your lips so you can get all this commentary. If you're gonna be a cat calling over there, I want people to be able to hear you.
All right. So
All right.
I don't wanna too much.
No, well, that's fine. I like talking with somebody over there.
Cool.
So that again, that's my producer Davide Razzo. Davide.
Davide.
No,
No.
I don't think you pronounced it correctly.
No.
Yeah, I
Okay.
could never pronounce it. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but I always called him David E.
Davide, I like that.
So back to the Peterson family. My pops died when he was 48. So health has been on the Peterson family's mind forever. And we, of course, we had to like stick and move. I was 4 when he passed, so we had to figure out how to survive without him, and more so my mom, of course, and my older brothers and sisters who are already pretty much grown. And Patty's 10 years older than I am, and she basically had to start taking care of me because mom was out gigging. Now, my parents were musicians as well. I didn't know my pops very well, obviously, because I was 4 when he passed. But mom was one of the sickest keyboard singers ever to grace the keyboards. I'm telling you, she was something else. I did thousands and thousands of gigs with her. So she'd go out and do her gigs, and then Patty would have to, make sure I did my homework, did all that kind of stuff. So we really became a super tightly knit family. It doesn't go without a little controversy here and there. I guess controversy is probably the wrong word, but I don't know if it's competition, just family dynamics. But we all are crazy about each other. And it really, it's an important part of my life. And family balance is another thing that we'll talk about in this podcast. And I think that getting opinions from our guests coming up is going to be incredibly important in how they balance life on the road, raising kids, keeping your marriage together or not keeping your marriage together, and making your choices and why you make certain choices in your life. And I think that's going to be an integral part of what we're doing on this. Okay, so a little bit more about me. So I've been playing music my entire life because I didn't know any better, that I was not supposed to play music. I thought every kid in the neighborhood had a family like mine, and I thought they all played instruments. I'd go up to them and say, "Hey, what do you play, Davide?"
Guitar.
Well, he does, too. He does play guitar. One of the things that I love, since we're talking about health here and just me always being on the move, is I love, and still do, love baseball. Baseball. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, Little League, I think all the way up through beginning of high school, I played. That was what it was all about for me. And one of the reasons is my mom and dad played the organ at the Twins game. Twins, see? Vintage shirt. See what I'm saying?
Go Twins.
Tony Oliva, Harmon Killebrew, Cesar Tovar, Greg Nettles.
See, I don't know any of these players.
Well, you shouldn't. You're not from here. But I loved all the Larry Heisel. We're talking 70s teams here, but that was my favorite thing to do. So I used to get to go into the old Mets Stadium and go up into I think it was the second floor, but this was an old building, and we'd go into where Mom and Dad's organ was. Then the stadium announcer, Bob Casey, was in the actual same booth with us, and he would be, "Now batting number 29, Rod Carew." But he was so into baseball, but he didn't have a filter, and he used colorful metaphors all the time. He was slamming stuff, and he'd be crazy like that. My mom, this wonderfully Catholic woman, would be like, "Paul, why don't you go get yourself an ice cream right now?" But this guy would always go out and get me one, when they'd have bat day or whatever that would be, ball day, hat day. He'd always come back with something for me. So cheers to you, Bob Casey. But anyways, baseball was a huge part of my growing up, and one of the things that I loved a lot. So through grade school, I played baseball. I also played football, but everybody grew, and I did not. I was fast, but I didn't want to get killed.
Yeah.
I want because I was already thinking about my chops. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea because I was playing since the time I was born, as if from the time I could walk. Maybe before I had, I remember playing. I don't remember this, but people have told me that I played the drums at age 2, and then did my first little television appearance when I was 4. I couldn't reach the pedals, so I'd have to stand up and play the drums. So you can imagine now why I was thinking about my chops when I'm 13, 14 years old. Crazy stuff. So throughout high school, I actually started to play a little bit of tennis too. What a great sport that is. And I just watched Wimbledon. Oh,
Yeah.
incredible. Djokovic.
Yep. And against Federer.
Man, what a match that was.
He's from my town in Switzerland, so.
Oh, you got to be kidding.
Yes.
Wow. He played incredibly. Federer's from your hometown.
Yes. He's been number 1. I don't think he's number 1 now, but he used to be number 1 for a long, long time.
Yeah, well, he's a heck of a tennis player. He's old for the tennis game too.
Yep.
He's incredible. But I loved tennis as well. I kind of gave up baseball and switched to tennis because I had one freaking bad season. I didn't get along with my coach. So I just went, I'm not going to play anymore. I was Mr. Competitive, and I wasn't getting my way. I was a little spoiled brat, and then I decided to just switch gears and go to tennis. And I loved that. Lettered a couple years in high school, and I wasn't very good, but I think they gave letters to everybody.
No.
But I was competitive, and I've always been competitive, no matter what it is. If it's baseball, if it's tennis, whatever. But you also have to understand something else. During high school, I was working 6 nights a week with my sister's bands at a local bar. 6 nights a week in a bar.
Wow.
And trying to get my schoolwork done. And my mom was gigging. And at that time, my sister was 25, moved out of the house with a couple of kids. So, I was kind of on my own. And somehow, I was disciplined enough to be able to pull it off and graduate 11th in my class. Ta-da!
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Wow.
But my
11th.
This is so funny, man, is that my teachers used to come out to see me play at my gigs, and I'd buy them all rounds of drinks. And
you had no problems to underage, kind of like the bar owners that
they all thought I was of age. I guess.
Really?
I looked like a baby, but I evidently played like I was an adult or whatever that means. So they all came, and I'd buy them a round of drinks. And principal kind of said to me at one point in time, said, "What are you doing here? You already know what you're going to be doing." He wasn't encouraging me to drop out or anything, but he just was like, "We already know what you're doing.
Just get over with it."
Right. So it was super fun, and it was loose, and those guys, you could never get away with that in modern days. I mean, you're not buying your teachers rounds of drinks, man. There'd be a little HR problem on that one.
Oh yeah.
Right. So.
Wow.
So you know what else happened in high school is I met my bride. We're going to be talking a little bit about family.
Bride.
Yeah, I met Julie in 1981. That's a long time ago. We dated as high schoolers, and then we broke it off. And however, started going back out again when I was going through my whole Prince phase, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that as well. But we've been married for 29 years coming up this October, so it can be done. And I'll be sharing stories about how we made things work and where I screwed up and where, how we compromise and all those kind of words that we use and decisions we make in our lives to stay together and not give up. And that's important to Julie and I and our 2 little girls. I've got 2 beautiful little girls.
Yep.
They're not little anymore, though. They grew up on me, Davide.
Yeah, they do, huh?
Yeah.
They do. But they're wonderful, wonderful.
They're great kids. So Kelly is my oldest. I just did a gig with her today. She runs a Spanish immersion preschool, fluent in Spanish. They had their little 1K run today in the rain.
Wow.
Daddy was asked to go and provide the PA, so I loaded my car full of PA, went out there, and I'm not setting up when it's lightning out. So we brought in a little tiny speaker, and they had a beautiful Spanish band play, and
Nice.
that's what I got to do. And then my youngest is, she goes by the name Jean Taylor, after my mom, Jeannie, but Jeanne Taylor. Her real name is Taylor. She's out in L.A. doing what, Davide? Trying to be a rock star.
She's trying to be a rock star, but she's wonderful as well.
Yeah, she's a great kid.
During the day, I think she's used to told me she's taking care of.
She's taking care of kids. She's a nanny
Yeah.
out there, but I think she's moving on from that now.
Oh, really? Okay.
I've been
that's
told
new
she let me in on
development.
that one. Yeah, so I get to see her. She's coming home in about a week or two.
Okay, cool.
So here's what happened. Let me tell you a little bit about my career and some of my adventures, I guess you'd call them. So I graduated from high school. I was on vacation with a buddy of mine, best friend for my entire youth, Brett Ward. Of course, I called him Burt Ward, who was Robin in the Batman series. Why I called
Really?
him Burt? Oh, yeah. His name was Burt Ward. Check him out. Anyway, so
Wow. Okay.
so Brett and I were up vacationing, doing terrible, naughty things like drinking beer and underage and all these kind of things. That's kind of where I was at that time in my life. I got a call from my brother-in-law, whose band I was playing in high school with my sister. He said, Paul, his name is Stuart. He said, Paul, get your butt down here. End vacation early, and you've got an audition with Morris Day and the Time. I'm like, really? I got to end my vacation early? I'm having fun. He's like, get your butt down here.
Did you know who Morris Day was?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They were really, they were kind of hitting, and the Minneapolis scene was just bubbling at that point in time. That was 1983.
Okay.
What happened is that this is around the time that you've probably heard the stories if you're Prince fans, and you've probably heard me tell it. But Terry and Jimmy were starting to produce people. Terry and Jimmy were in the group at the time. So they got snowed in and missed a concert. And so they got fired right before they were going to make Purple Rain. So they were holding auditions for replacement people for Morrissey and the Time. My buddy Monty, he wasn't my buddy yet, but he had also left and gone with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, which was a great decision for him because he went on to work with Janet Jackson, Alexander O'Neill, and so many other people. So here I am, this 17-year-old green suburbanite white kid from Richfield. Thank you. I appreciate the reminder. Richfield, Minnesota. Going in, I had to come home. I had to prep. I think it was, for some reason, it was. I'm thinking it was 10 songs. I was supposed to be able to play them, not look at any sheet music, look cool, which was impossible for me at that age. I
The
was all
dancing
arms
parts and
legs.
stuff like that too, right?
Do what?
The dancing,
Oh, and dance. Yeah,
the moves, and all.
Yeah,
of that.
which was very awkward I was dangling. I was all arms and legs, and I didn't know what cool was. So I went in. What happened was they didn't give me a lot of time to learn this material. The cassette tape showed up at my door. Went down into Mom's basement. Of course, I'm still living at home. Had to go down. I'm sitting on Mom's grand piano, learning these songs to the best of my ability. Had to learn them overnight because the tape didn't get there in time. So my audition was the next day. So I went in, and Jesse Johnson was running the audition at that point in time.
Okay.
Who else was left over? Jerome, Jellybean Johnson.
Yep.
That was it at that time. And then I believe I auditioned with another bass player, Rocky Garrity, and then another keyboard player by the name of Mark Cardenas. We played that afternoon, and it felt good. I was scared to death, but so we got finished. Got a call back that night. Came the next day, played, and this little guy came out dressed to the nines, and of course that's Prince. Got done playing. He came up to me, and he did what ended up appearing in Under the Cherry Moon in a scene. I don't know whether he did it on me first, but he wrote down on a piece of paper. You guys can't see this, so I'll try to describe it. Those of you listening, while you're running, of course. He wrote down the word wreck, W-R-E-C-K, and then and then the word stow, S-T-O-W. He said, say this out loud. I was nervous because I knew who he was, and he was bubbling under and really creating a whole wave of the sounds that he was making. I said, Rekisto? He said, what is it? I said, I don't know. Say it again. Rekisto? He said, say it faster. Rekisto? He said, what is it? I said, I don't know. He said, where do you buy your records? Rekisto? And that's how he broke the ice with me. So then, so we're hanging, right? So that's how we started the hang. Then he walks me over to this table that had swatches of suit material, right? And the time is known for dressing to the nines, unlike what I've got on today. It happens. Anyway, so we walked over there, and we were going to have a double-breasted suit. It was going to be beautiful. We're preparing for this new movie he's got coming out, or about to film, called Purple Rain. So I picked up this beautiful black pinstripe suit, and he said, "You'll never be noticed in that." So what did I end up getting into? Was an orange pinstripe suit. He did a number on me. He totally crafted me. He was totally carving me out.
You still own that one?
I still got it, and my daughter Taylor fits perfectly in it. She said, "Dad, can I take that to L.A. with me?" I went, No, you cannot. So I had hair that was like David Bowie. I think he was like carving me into a David Bowie lookalike. So that was the beginning of my career with Prince, and we rehearsed with the group The Time for close to a year, and we shot live scenes at and did a live record at the amazing First Avenue. I was just hanging on for dear life because I didn't know what the hell was pulling off. They were schooling me on how to be cool, how to dance, how to play parts. And see, I come from a bebop jazz family, so parts are things that you can work around, right?
Who was the band member that kind of helped you out and kind of embraced you and showing you the ropes?
That's Jellybean. Jellybean totally hooked me up. He's been my friend for 35 years now, and we still play gigs together. But he kind of was, because Jesse was hard on me. Jesse Johnson was a guitar player, and he was from the school of Prince and the school of James Brown, where they were leadership by being a dictator, basically, and yelling at you and kind of humiliating you. And it worked. It's just an interesting approach. But it did work, and they carved me into this little funk dude, right? And they kind of helped me shed the Richfield suburbanite skin and get into this really funky scene that was the Minneapolis sound. And man, what a time to get in on that.
Yep.
So the next thing I know, I'm making Purple Rain with these guys. We didn't know what that was going to become. We just figured it was going to be a movie this guy was doing, and then next thing we know, I've got a double platinum record on the wall. Ice Cream Castles went double platinum.
Wow.
It was crazy. And then, I'm flying out to California for the premiere of Purple Rain, and my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, she came with me, but she, I didn't want to let my wonderfully Catholic mother know this, so I ended up sneaking her out there. We totally avoided all the television cameras all day long because we didn't want my mom to see that this was a huge nationally covered event, especially by MTV and networks. So no one ever saw us, but we were there.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was an incredible period of my life. What happened after that, Morris ended up leaving the band. Morris Day said, "Thank you, goodbye." And I'm sure it was because he and Prince were fighting and he didn't like the fact that he fired his friends, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Who are these guys coming in, playing, trying to take their spot? Can't blame the guy, really, for that. So he split, and then Prince gathered us around in a warehouse that he had in Eden Prairie. And it was basically Mark Cardenas ended up going with Jesse. Jesse left and got his own record deal, and Prince said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to form a new band. And he pointed at me and said, you're going to be the new lead singer. I was like, what? I'm like, where did this dude hear me sing? Not that I was complaining or anything, but the only thing that I can think of is during the shooting of Purple Rain at First Avenue, Prince's dressing room was here. Morrissey in the Times dressing room was here, separated by basically a material like this. So in other words, it was very, sound could pass through that very easily. So Morris and I had to pass the time because making movies, you hurry up and wait. So we would be going, he'd be singing a lick, yeah, yeah, and I'd go, yeah, yeah. That wasn't very good, but then I would try to outdo him, right? So I think Prince was like, ooh, that kid can sing too. So he ended up asking me to be the lead singer along with Susanna Melvoin, who he was seeing at the time. Mm-hmm. Jelly Bean ended up staying with the family. Jerome stayed with the family. Eric Leeds, who was his tour manager's brother, came up and recorded the record with Prince, and the family, that's the name of the band, was formed. So, man, good times were good. I was partying, having a great time. Boy, I was hot, you know what, and just ask me. And I was, I thought I was the greatest thing ever. I mean, look, I'm sitting here with Prince. I'm in all these other bands. The ego part of that whole youth. It happens to all of us in one form or another, whether it's corporately or if it's, rock and roll bands or whatever. So I'm partying, having a good time, cocktailing, doing whatever.
By the way, did you know that we actually video every one of these interviews that we do? If you want to see what we're doing, go to this address. It's Patreon, patreon.com/Music on the Run podcast. And become one of our partners there, and you get to see all the behind-the-scenes footage, pictures, video. We'll send you some swag. You'll love it, and we would love your support, and we would love to be your partner in this podcast. Patreon.com/Music on the Run podcast. Go check it out.
So we rehearsed probably again for about 8-9 months, and we did one gig, and then Prince went off to make a movie in France, and I got discouraged, and he wasn't helping us, progress really. But I'm sure he had a master plan. But at that point in my life, I was like, what is going on here? So I got wooed into going over to A&M Records, and I thought I was going to be producing a record for Janet Jackson before she blew up. And really what they were doing is trying to steal me away from Prince, and I had no intention of doing that.
So at that time, the record already came out, right? The Family record?
Family record was out. The first single was out.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I went in. I was in L.A. doing singing, dancing, and acting lessons, and he was, I'm sure, grooming me for his next movie or whatever that would have been. And I went into A&M Records, hung out with John McClane, who was the A&R man at that point for Janet. And I thought I was going to produce something for Janet. And he said, no, I want to steal you away from Prince. I'm like, what? Who in their right mind is going to leave Prince when, I'm the next in line? He's grooming me to be a movie star, all this kind of stuff. And then I went, ooh, I think my family was grooming me to be a musician and a star before Prince was. So I started to think about it. And the business was a little funny with Prince. I'm not going to get into detail, but we really weren't able to come to a conclusion on the family contract that was agreeable to everybody. So I entertained it, and it ended up being a bidding war, and I ended up leaving Prince and going with MCA Records. Dang. My family said, are you sure this is what you want to do? And I said, yeah. You were the ones who grew me into being a free thinker and being able to write songs and play all the instruments myself. That's what really attracted, I think, MCA Records. So I signed a deal with them, did a record with my brother Ricky, and involved everybody in my family. I had, God, it was such a cool thing because at that point in time when I was signed, I also toured with David Sanborn, who was a great saxophonist, and he played on the record. Who else? Hiram Bullock was on that record, who was a great guitar player. He's gone now, unfortunately, but that experience really, really changed a lot of stuff. Obviously, Prince was not happy with me at that point in time, and I think I think I kind of was really busy. In fact, it was in this studio is where I made that record. We're
Wow.
in my studio it's called Creation, actually. My friend Steve Weiss owns it. I rent a room from him, and it's a super. It's an old studio that I think it's been in action since the 1940s. We make records. Yeah.
Bruce Swedin.
Bruce Swedin's
used
studio
to own the studio here,
and that's
yes.
Michael Jackson's engineer.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was called Swedin Sound.
Yeah.
My mom and dad used to record in this studio.
And there was a movie theater before.
It was a movie theater back into the turn of the century, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm having a good time. I've got a record deal, but Prince is giving me a hard time, and so I'm partying, having a good, doing all that stuff, and record came out, did just okay. A lot of good songs in there, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of the ups and downs of the career.
Rich Man was your first single, right?
Rich Man was the first single. That did really well. I got to go on BET and talk with all those guys. It was a weird time for a white kid playing funk music. Not a lot of people were actually just blatantly going that direction, right? Way before Justin Timberlake, way before any of that kind of stuff. There were other blue-eyed souls guy way before me now. Righteous Brothers, Daryl Hall, John Oates. But they were strictly pop in my estimation. So not that I was trying to blaze my own trail. I'm sure there was others that I'm forgetting about. But all I'm trying to say, it was not an easy road to hoe. It was difficult. We were somewhat paving the trail and exploring new territory. But my background's in bebop and jazz, so in black music is such an integral part of my life and my family's life, and that's what I was raised on, and that's where it all comes from, that and the blues.
Right.
So,
But you guys, the Minneapolis funk, the Minneapolis sound, you kind of made the funk a little bit more mainstream. I mean,
Well,
James
for sure.
Brown and, all these guys brought it up, but you guys, I think, made it more mainstream, more...
well, right. I mean,
Yeah.
Prince and Jimmy
Yeah.
and Terry really paved the way on that, and we were just fortunate enough to lend our talents and voices and playing ability to all that. So pretty incredible, man. So I ended up putting that record out, and then I left MCA, toured with my brothers with the Steve Miller Band. Talk about a strange, going from one genre to the next. So 1 minute I'm playing with Prince, the next minute I'm playing with, the Gangster of Love with my two brothers. Whoo-wee, did we have some fun on that tour. Golly, man. Right up, I think that was 88 to 1992, right before Kelly was born.
Yep.
And I did a lot of other tours during that time I was making records. Boss Skaggs, Steve Miller, I said.
Paula Abdul?
No, I
That
did
was
her
before that?
record. I didn't tour with her, but we did her record right
Yep.
in this studio right here. So I was doing a lot of sessions and ran into Donny Osmond making my second record for Atlantic, and he and I became great friends. And he had a record out. I had a record out around the same time, right around 1990, and he and I became great friends. And in the mid 90s, I ended up touring with Kenny Loggins, and I bring him up because he's another blue-eyed soul cat.
Yes.
Great songwriter, super soulful, and guess what else he is? It's a long road around to this health thing, but he introduced me to running.
Oh, okay.
Kenny is the
Okay.
first one who introduced me to running, and he was fast. He's tall, and I was like, oh, this is the last thing I want to do, but I wanted to hang with the boss, I wanted to make sure I was, getting in good and getting to know him. That's what he dug doing. He loved to run, and I didn't want to have anything to do with that, but I decided to try it, and it was not my favorite thing. However, I grew to like it, and there's a few reasons why I grew to like it. First of all, I totally shifted my life in 1989. 1999. Ugh, like these years all blend together. So I was hanging out doing the Donnie and Marie television show, actually living with Donny Osmond. He said, man, why don't you come here? No one's ever around. I want my buddy, because he and I were buddies before he asked me to come and play on his show. And I'm like, sure, live in Santa Monica with you? Absolutely. But at this point, I'm like partying, having a great old time. And then all of a sudden,
Oops.
yep, got the oops in California. Threw me in the tank. And my last cocktail was in January of 1999. So things started to shift. I wasn't very much fun to be around for a while after that. Ask my bride.
You're still fun, Paul.
Well, it took, let me tell you something, because, and look, I really haven't talked much about my sobriety, but I think it's an important part of my story and an important part about health, you know, and what happened what happened to me when I stopped drinking is that you kind of got to learn how to be social again, you know, and it's difficult because everything revolves around the party. And the party kind of is the hang, and the hang is all important in music and socializing and all that kind of stuff. You really got to learn how to deal with that without the cocktail. And sometimes what's happened to me is I have gotten through that. The only thing that's changed for me is that my hangs are usually just a little bit shorter. Mm-hmm. And I'm good with that. And my friends who have stuck with me through thick and thin are good with that too. They're like, oh, you're done, aren't you? And I'm like, I'm done. I love you. I'm going home. And they're cool with that.
Yeah.
But getting back to Kenny Loggins, I was kind of searching for something, and I didn't know what it was back in those days. And I wanted to get healthy. You know, my body was clean from alcohol. I was working all the time still. You know, I'm that type A personality. But this running thing with Loggins really started to pay off.
So how far would you guys go? Like, or how many times would you guys go?
Well, we'd hit the ground. Let's say we flew to Hawaii, and then he'd be like, okay, lobby call, 8:15, we're going on a run. I'm like, it's 80% humidity, and all I see are hills out there. I don't want to do that. And he's like, come on. So we went. And here's what that experience taught me, and that was serenity. It's a weird thing. And I hated running. I hated running. Who wants to go out there and kill yourself and run more than, 30 yards? Well, evidently we do.
Or
right?
you just run when you're chased, right?
Well, exactly right. Who's chasing you? So I found this running thing really kind of helped me out mentally. So when I was on the road, I started running, and it ended up being a great way to see the town. As recently as my tour with Peter Frampton in 2016, there wasn't a lot of hanging going on with the fellas and me. So what did I do? I went running. I saw every one of these states with my 2 feet running, training for the marathon.
Yes.
So it was also a great way for me to be able to get away from technology to a certain extent. I mean, meaning the computer, emails, life in general. I'd put on my headphones, listen to my favorite music like Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind & Fire, my own family, whatever the case may be, or learn songs. Mm-hmm. Learned the whole Frampton tour by running it first. Yep. So really what it became was an escape. And I'm telling you, I've never slept better in my life. I look forward to the social part of it too. You may be my producer, but you're also my running brother.
Yes.
Why don't you actually come in here and talk to me,
sure.
These guys? Come. I want you to see who I've been talking to for the whole time. Ooh, gooseneck sounds. You like that? Okay.
Well, here I am.
You can cut that.
Hello, I'm Davide.
Davide, or David E, as I like to call him. So
yeah,
our history is a little bit different. So who I met first is my old high school buddy, Bill Nolan.
Bill Nolan, yeah.
Bill and I hadn't seen each other in 30 years, and he found me on Facebook and said, hey, you're a runner too, huh? Because I started to post this stuff. He said, let's get together and catch up on 30 years. So he told me his life story as we were going around Harriet, and the second lap was my turn to tell my life story. And all this time, we caught up and we started a little hang, and we started running together all the time.
Right.
You were my student.
Yes, at MMI, at the Minneapolis Media Institute.
Right.
And at that time, I think I just finished to run the San Francisco half marathon,
Right.
my first half marathon. And I think I kind of told you, hey, I just ran it. A half marathon? You did a half marathon?
Right.
Yes. So you run? And I go like, yes, well, we should hang. And there we are, right?
Well, it was a weird thing because you got to remember, because I was in a position of authority.
Yes, exactly.
Even though you and I are damn
Yeah.
near the same age, I still had to kind of separate that out just a little bit. But
Yep.
he graduated top of the class.
Yeah.
We were already friends, but then
Yeah.
the hang was seriously on. So
Oh, yeah.
we have a group of 3 or 4 or 5 of us
Right.
from different times called the Geezers, of Gear.
Yeah.
That's right. So we get together and we share technology. I've got my, they made me get a Garmin watch. You can't see this now, but is it the Vivo or something like that?
Yep, it's the newest one, and you can load up music on there, so you don't have to bring your phone with you.
Yeah, but I bring my phone anyways in case I
Yeah.
fall and I can't get up. You never know at 54 what happens. So,
Yeah.
but it's awesome because your heart rate tells you
Right.
how many steps you've climbed.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So you and I have done, okay, you did a half marathon, but
Right.
you've done one more marathon than I have, and I've done 4.
Yes.
You've done 5, right?
5. I did 5 marathons now, so
Except you did Twin Cities how many times?
3 times. Then we did Chicago together
Together.
for the first time.
We ran a marathon for the first time
We
together.
were training for Twin Cities
Yeah.
so many times together, and then just life happens.
I got gigs.
Yeah.
You know, it's
and
like what
those-
they say, if you want to get a gig, plan a vacation.
But he did 2 years ago, was it, that you had to bail?
Yeah, I had to bail
And,
out of the marathon.
So he calls us and, hey, I just got a gig in Germany
I
in
did.
Köln, and there we go. And
There it is.
well, let's look up marathons in Germany.
Yep.
You're gonna run it, and then we found this the marathon in Köln
So
at the same date.
the day after my gig with Ricky Peterson, my
Yeah.
brother. So I'm up at 6 a.m. after the gig, running the Clun marathon. It was
Marathon.
unbelievable. Although
Unbelievable.
people were lining the streets cheering us on, smoking cigarettes. So like, hey, whatever they're playing.
Every time I go back home, that's the I get actually. I was just home in April. I ran the Zurich marathon for the first time, and I got out of the airport, and all I smell is cigarettes. It's
That's what it is.
unbelievable. Yep.
That's what it's all. And you know, you and Bill, I must say, are really. You really study running. You really do, and you basically become my coach. Bill's been my coach. You guys trade off, just trying to.
Right.
And I just do what you tell me to do, which is really convenient for me. But most of the time, I do what you tell me to do, except for the gym part. I'm working on that.
I mean, I'm a guy who I'm either 100% in or I'm 100% out. I'm not a guy who just works out or. So that's why the running before running, I was cycling.
Okay.
In like 20 years ago, I actually started cycling and I did all crazy shit. Oops. Whatever.
You can swear on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's
So and then I moved here in 2000, and for like 5-6 years I didn't do anything.
Hmm.
Up until I started with music. I got back in running, and then like in 2012, my wife actually she was turning 40 and said, I want to do a half marathon. And I go like, I don't have the desire. So she kind of
Right.
forced me. And so me going 100% in, I started to not just look up for training plans or whatever. And
right.
I just wanted to knowing what I knew back then 20 years ago with training in heart rate zones and eating and all that, that influenced my running. And now with you guys, I'm even more. And when I have a bad day at an event, I don't call them races because A race is
You're
only
not gonna
for
win anyway,
for the
yeah.
first 10 that try to win.
Yeah.
So we call them events, right?
That's right.
So
We call them hangs.
yeah,
That's
but
really what it is.
but then yeah, so we do that, and so we kind of I send you like at the training plan for the week. Hey, you should work on this and this, and
But it's great. For example, when I was on the road with Frampton, you guys would be checking in with me via text all the time saying,
Yes.
hey, did you run your 5 miles today? And I'd be like, it's 95 here. Hit the treadmill, which I did.
yeah, which is tough,
It's tough. Well, you train for a marathon in the winter, so I know
Yeah.
you know.
and it's brutal.
Yeah,
but
it is brutal.
it's that's what you do. If you put something in your head, and then you have to do it.
Right. So you guys have been really instrumental in gear over in Edina, Minnesota. Helped me pick out the shoes. Shoes are important.
Oh yeah,
Got my shoes here. I figured music, shoes, running, health. That's what we're talking about. But it's great to have you as my producer, and he's the one that
It's-
made me do this.
it's very nice, and it's a privilege to work with you as well. And I pushed you because I know that a lot of musicians out there have some stories to tell, because it's not just sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Not at all.
And I think we can tell and hear out some of your colleagues
Mm-hmm.
and see how they keep in shape, what they do, what's their rituals, if yoga or whatever, it takes to remain sound.
Right.
Because as you know, going on tour and being on tour, it can get a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Your diet can be terrible. Your training regimen can go one of two ways. Either you, like my brother, you do more when you're on the road because you have the time, or you completely fall off, and then you just sit in your bunk and hang out and don't do anything. But glad to have you aboard, my brother.
Thank you.
Now go back
Thank
in
you
your
very
own
much. All right.
position. Dowdy Brazo, everybody.
Thank you.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about health, my personal health. So my pops died of colon cancer when he was 48. Super important that y'all take care of that and go in and get that. That's one of the most preventable cancers there is. Excuse me. So we do that. We make sure that we are good in that easily preventable disease, so we go in and get checked. The other thing that it's not wrong with me by any means, but I've got the world's biggest birthmark. It's my God tattoo, baby. Yeah, you can't see it now, but it's large. Red, large, and my thermometer. Whenever I get cold, it turns nice and blue or purple. Purple. That's right, it's purple. But it's cool. My mom always said, "I'll never lose you," because I got that beautiful marking. So, and I choose to look at it that way. It was interesting growing up, but makes you tougher. Makes you stronger. And but that is nothing, man. If that's all I got to deal with, I'm good. You know what? My love for baseball also led me to my eye health, of all things. I was sitting in the studio and was programming on the computer, and all I could see were rainbows in my eyes. I'm like, man, I'm just tired, I think. So I found out Kirby Puckett had glaucoma, and he would describe what it was. I think it was in Time magazine, and I went into the same doctor he was being seen by, and the doctor said to me, Dr. Ristad, he said, I've got some good news and some bad news for you. Number one, I've never had a patient come in and tell me that their eyes are bugging them. They want to be seen for something. So that was described as glaucoma, because I basically thought that's what I had. He said, the bad news is you have it. The good news is you caught it early. You have no danger of losing your vision. So for the past 5 years, I've been taking a drop in my eye. Good to go. Once again, very easily handled, but it's all managing. You got to manage all that stuff. Here are a couple of things that are really vital to a musician, though. One of them is hearing health. When I was 10 years old, my sister's husband at the time, his best friend, took me out shooting. I was probably 10. Took me out shooting, no ear protection, and he had different kind of bullets in this pistol. I'm not really familiar with shooting. I don't shoot a lot, but evidently he had a Magnum bullet in there, so I was shooting. Bam, 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 bam! The Magnum bullet went off. My ears are ringing off the hook for 40 years. Right now, ringing off the hook. I mean,
Yep.
not fun, not excellent. And that's not good for a musician to have tinnitus, as they call it. Not tinnitus. You see tinnitus, I see tinnitus. But I just went into the Starkey Hearing Foundation, a company that I've been very involved with musically for the last 18 years. I've been their conductor. And they've taken good care of my ears. And I just went in for a checkup. Here's what we found out. Will you roll that, Davide? Check this out. Hey, everybody. St. Paul here. I'm actually at Starkey Laboratories, where I've been coming for nearly 20 years because of my hearing loss. And I just got my first hearing test since 2014. Time flies. So we're going to go over it with Ray, who's the guru here, one of the gurus here. He's going to explain a little bit about where my hearing loss is, and we're going to talk a little bit about prevention and what you can do so you don't have the hearing problems that I have right now. Check it out. Ray, what's going on, brother?
Oh, how you doing?
Good, man.
Good.
So give me the bad news.
So it's not bad news.
Okay.
So here's the thing, Paul. Looking at your audiogram, if you look at it really closely, these right here are called frequencies.
Yep.
You have 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. So the further out it goes, the higher the pitch.
Okay, sure.
And as you go this way, it's the lower the pitch.
Right.
The circle is your right ear.
Okay.
The X is your left ear.
Okay.
As you look at the audiogram, your lower frequencies are better than your higher frequencies. So that's why you can hear things fine, but they're
Right.
not clear.
Right.
The loudness is okay. The clarity is where you're having the most difficulty.
So sibilance, that kind of thing?
Yep. So the like the
Exactly right. And
Yeah,
that's the
it's
same
the
frequency
consonants.
as tambourines, cymbals,
yeah
women's voices,
background noise
background
makes
noise.
it more challenging. Yep. So what happens is when you get into a loud situation, it makes your highs more difficult because of the background noise.
Got it.
So it's really important to get amplification in the areas where you need help because it helps you hear better in noise, it gives you better directionality, and it gives you better clarity. So those are the three primary things that hearing aids can do.
So that's what, okay, so hearing aids have always had a bad rap,
Yes.
especially with musicians and probably anyone who just doesn't want to admit to the fact that
Let me
they're
tell you,
wrong.
hearing aids are amazing now. Let me tell you some things that we can do now with hearing devices.
Okay, please.
We can track your steps. We can do brain engagements. We can show you how active you're being with your phone. We can Bluetooth with the phone.
Okay.
We can detect if a loved one falls. If you fall, the hearing aid will detect your loved ones to let you know that you fell.
I've fallen and I can't get up, and it'll actually contact
It'll
someone.
contact up to 3 people.
No way.
Yes, it'll contact up to 3 people through your phone, and it'll alert them to let you know that you fell, and also it'll do a geotag to where you fell. So we're coming a long ways with technology. We also have a language translator. So if you speak Spanish to me, the hearing aid will translate into English.
What about... Will it talk back in Spanish to us? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that hearing aids are doing today.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yes, and also we're going to be able to check your heart rate. We have sensors in our hearing aids now that
Wow.
can check your heart rate as well.
So the stigma of hearing aids is you find it changing, and people are more willing to.
Yes, because
put them in
they're more cosmetically appealing. A lot of people don't notice that I wear one. I wear one right now.
Oh wow!
If you see it, this is.
I still can't see it now.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it out so you can see it.
Wow.
Are you ready? Here we go.
Isn't that something? Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
This is called the Livio AI, which is our newest product.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man.
So we have a really thin tube, just running down here, and we have a custom mode, and your hair covers up the unit. So they're not like big bulky ones that we back in the days. Things are
Correct.
getting smaller and smaller. The technology, the nanotechnology, we're able to make smaller chips, smaller receivers, and smaller parts. So it's more cosmetically appealing. So a lot of people think it's noticeable, but if you look, people don't
you
notice
can't.
it unless I pull it out and show them.
Right. And I find it with me, because I've had hearing aids for many years, I get out of the habit of wearing them, then I get into the habit of wearing them. What about suggestions for for someone like me who just needs to put them in their ears?
You know, that's a good question, Paul. You know, over time, what happens is, if you don't use it, you lose it. The
Wow.
brain has to acclimate over time.
Okay.
If you keep taking in and out, the brain doesn't get used to it. The brain needs what it needs. You need high frequency. You need clarity. So with the hearing aid in all the time and keep stimulating the brain can process it better and understand it better. What happens is when people keep taking them out, the brain's getting confused. It's like, why am I not getting the input I need? So you have to keep feeding the brain what it needs. If you don't, it can change. There is a correlation between hearing loss and Alzheimer's and dementia.
Wow.
Yes, there is a correlation. They find that people with hearing loss have a higher risk. So if you don't stimulate the brain, there's been proven that brain matter does change.
Give me the hearing aids. I don't want to deal with any of
So we tell people it's not just about hearing, it's also your health.
Right.
And so we're giving more about hearing and health, not just hearing.
So the stigma is going away. Hearing aids more accessible to people, you think, now?
Yes. Yeah.
Then are they starting to sell them in retail markets, right? I mean, are they starting to sell them in like Walgreens and?
Yeah, we see them at Walmart. They have them at Sam's. They have them at Costco. Yep, you see them all. But I tell you, it's a big discussion about buying over the counter versus seeing a professional.
Right. So you still recommend coming in, seeing your audiologist.
Yes, absolutely.
Getting them,
absolutely.
Because what you're going to do for me is you're going to
Yeah,
pinpoint my frequencies that I've lost on this.
Yes, so we're going to focus on what you need help and where you don't need help.
Okay.
But, talking about buying things, over the counter versus seeing a professional. When somebody goes get something over the counter, they don't know much about their hearing loss. So they might be underfit, or they don't know the right prescription.
Right.
When you see a professional, we know what we need to do. We see the audiogram, we know how to fit it based on what you need. If you go over the counter, you may underfit yourself. You may not get what you need. And there might be other issues. You might have a conductive component or surgical attention, or you might have an ear infection, or you might have a lot of wax. And you may not need the hearing aid, so you don't know. So it's
nobody's going to go in there and do what they did for me, which is check inside my ears and remove the wax.
Do a thorough hearing test.
Correct.
And see what your needs are.
Right.
You're playing a band, you're very particular about sound, so we got to tune it just right the way you want to hear it.
Right.
Hearing is not just objective, it's subjective. It's the way you perceive it. The perception of how you hear different than someone else because you're a musician, so you hear things a little different.
Of course.
You tune into those pitches. Somebody that's not a musician may not hear it the way you hear it when you listen to music. So perception is very vital and very essential because they're wearing the hearing aid, not the technology. So you have to have someone that's a professional to understand what your needs are and how you're perceiving it.
Right.
So it's not just about how you program it, but it's also how you listen to the patient.
One last thing I'm going to ask you about, and that's tinnitus. I've been suffering from tinnitus since I'm 10 years old.
Most people, quite a few people have tinnitus. Tinnitus is a phenomenon. It's a phantom ring, which means the sound is occurring. Nobody else hears it but you.
Yeah.
And
you don't hear that?
Yeah. and there's different types of tinnitus. But if you have a tinnitus that's sudden and it's really, really concerned, you should always see an ear doctor, an ENT.
Okay.
Because that's a red flag. There's something going on there. But if you've had it for a long time and you've seen medical help, tinnitus is very common for people that have hearing loss.
Mm-hmm.
There is no cure for tinnitus. The top two things that cause tinnitus to get not worse but louder is stress.
Okay. Oh wow, interesting.
And sodium. Salt intake. So stress, yeah. So stress and dieting can help if you regulate that better. So we see a lot of people with tinnitus. Our hearing aids have a masker in it, which means it helps mask the tinnitus, so the tinnitus won't be as annoying. So we have a masker in our hearing aids as well for people that have tinnitus, because tinnitus is very common. We see it a lot. But going back to your hearing loss, the most common type of hearing loss we see is noise-induced, age, or infections of the ear. Those are the three top reasons why people have hearing loss.
I've got two of the three.
Yeah?
Well, getting there anyway.
But I get excited because I have a hearing loss and I know what it's like not being able to hear.
Yeah.
And I know the impact.
Right.
So if I have an opportunity to help people like myself,
yeah,
that's a win-win situation.
Well, Starkey's always been incredible about their foundation, of course, and the campus that you have here in Eden Prairie.
Yeah.
It's the world headquarters still, right?
Yes. Yep. There's over 2,000 locally, and we have over 6,000 worldwide employees.
You guys been taking great care of me for 20 years
Well, yes.
almost, so thank you
Awesome.
so much. And thanks for commenting on this.
Yes,
This is great
yes.
information for my audience to have.
Sure.
All
Yeah.
right. Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
I'm going to be putting them into my ears. Plus, you can stream music, you can stream your phone. It's kind of getting cool now. The only other thing that I have to deal with, and it's something that I have to kind of get beyond, is I have something called, and I have to read this, abductor spasmodic dysphonia. Abductor spasmodic dysphonia.
We'll put it.
Will you put that on the
Yes,
screen?
we'll put it on
Okay,
the
so
screen. Yes.
basically what that is that's my, when I go to speak, and you may have heard my voice cut in and out. Today's a good day, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes you'll hear a lot of air just escaping and maybe no words coming out. That'll happen from time to time in this podcast. So what happens is the muscles, and I heard it right there, the
Yes.
muscles in my throat will tense up, creating the vocal cords not to be able to come together. And I wanted to have my doctor on from the Mayo, Dr. Abello, come on and talk about it, but she was busy.
So we want to assure people that nobody is kind of strangling you, right?
Nobody's strangling
Yeah,
me, no,
so-
except for my brain. So it's a weird, very rare case of dysphonia, and it's a drag because I've been wanting to do this for years, and I keep putting it off because I can never tell who's going to show up, if I'm going to have a voice. Sometimes I have absolutely no voice whatsoever. So there's really nothing you can do for it. I did years of therapy, and I just wasn't getting any better. So what they do now is they go in and they shoot you with Botox, which relaxes that muscle. And I'm about to try it because I'm at wit's end with this thing. So we'll see how that goes, and I'm praying that it's going to be the answer for me. But here's the goofy thing, man. I can sing.
I was just about to ask you. I was singing.
My voice has never been better. And did you hear how strong that was compared to my speaking voice? It's the wackiest brain you know what ever. But we do. This is part of our journey. This is what we have to deal with. And I mean, if that's the only thing I have to deal with.
And I think I know this too. I think you have more trouble while we're running and we chat. I think it's more prone to kind of do that thing to you.
But let me tell you what running does for me mentally,
Yes.
because I'm dealing with this all the time and it's always on my mind. I may struggle more speaking when I'm running, but I'm telling you the balance and freedom and stress de-stressor that I have when I run makes the quality of my life so much better. And that's really what this podcast is all about. Music on the run. And,
Yes.
and all we want to do is figure out what works for different people. You know, let's get some different ideas from people like Sinbad and Steve Miller and all my different people that I've been touring with. And I think it's going to be a fascinating, fascinating journey. Who knows who's going to show up? I hope you all enjoy listening to Music on the Run. It's a new venture for me. And I want to thank Davide for pushing me in this direction. And I also want to thank EV, who's in my backyard, for the microphones. And let's have a good time together and hang in with me. And on our next podcast,
We're going to have our first guest.
huh?
We're going to have our first guest.
We're going to have our first guest. And you know who that is? Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Mr. Stevie Guitar Miller. Thanks for joining us. My name is St. Paul Peterson, and this is Music on the Run, Episode 1. Ow! Music on the Run was hosted by yours truly, St. Paul Peterson. Produced by my buddy Davide Razzo. Edited and recorded by Ivan Sobostianov. Recorded at the Workhouse in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I'm not wearing any pants. Well, that's it for this episode of Music on the Run podcast. If you really like this podcast, do us a favor. Go to wherever you got the podcast.
give us a rating. Make sure you subscribe. And if you really want to help us and become our partner, go to patreon.com/Music on the Run podcast.